As the NASCAR season winds down, two teams, one co-owned by basketball legend Michael Jordan, namely 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsports, have decided to sue the Motorsport Series and its CEO Jim France, calling them bullies. This surprising move has hit NASCAR hard and could lead to a fallout for the sport. The lawsuit's impact is likely to be felt across the series, potentially altering the way the sport is managed in the future. Michael Jordan's 23XI Racing, co-owned with three-time Daytona 500 winner Denny Hamlin, along with Front Row Motorsports owner Bob Jenkins, claim NASCAR has been using anti-competitive practices that prevent fair competition in the sport. Jenkins, who started his team in 2005, revealed that despite winning the 2021 Daytona 500 with Michael McDowell, he still hasn't made a profit, even in that successful season. The fact that a sports icon like Michael Jordan is now suing NASCAR is a historic moment that could change the sport forever, regardless of the lawsuit's outcome. It's clear that this won't be good for NASCAR's reputation, which seems tarnished at this point. The issue actually started with both 23XI and FRM being the only two teams to refuse to sign the new charter agreement proposed by the series executives. The series organizers and teams have actually been in discussions about the charter agreement for the last 2 years, and now, more than 6 months on from the original deadline for an agreement to be met, 23XI and FRM have taken a bold stand against the executives, calling them bullies. Initially, the teams were not okay with this new charter agreement, as in February, the teams allowed an extension to the original hard deadline to expire, unanimously agreeing on their displeasure. But NASCAR was not ready to budge. As per reports, teams were told they could risk losing their charters for the 2025 season if they didn't sign the latest proposal on Friday night, before the playoff race week starts at Bristol. While the threat and individual negotiations resulted in convincing most teams to accept the series' terms, 23XI and Front Row Motorsports have stayed adamant in the original position. The strict deadline and the pressure to sign the new 100-page charter agreement within 48 hours did not sit well with the two teams who have now gone to war with NASCAR. Jeffrey Kessler, a top antitrust attorney, famous for his involvement in the NCAA athletes' lawsuit demanding pay, is appointed as the legal counsel for Michael Jordan and his FRM counterpart. And what exactly did 23XI and FRM say about NASCAR in their lawsuit? Let's have a look, shall we? The France family and NASCAR are monopolistic bullies, and bullies will continue to impose their will to hurt others until their targets stand up and refuse to be victims. That moment has now arrived. Now that looks like some very harsh language, doesn't it? One of the major grievances and issues that has been highlighted in the lawsuit is the added expense that teams have to incur for fielding cars, as this becomes economically exhausting for them. And is there any compensation for them to overcome these added costs from the series? No, sir. And what exactly is the motive behind the legal action from Michael Jordan? Well, the NBA legend himself released a statement soon after filing the lawsuit in which he said, "Everyone knows that I have always been a fierce competitor. And that will to win is what drives me and the entire 23X I team each and every week out on the track. I love the sport of racing and the passion of our fans, but the way NASCAR is run today is unfair to teams, drivers, sponsors, and fans. Today's action shows I'm willing to fight for a competitive market where everyone wins." Not just Jordan, Bob Jenkins was quick to release a statement as well after filing the lawsuit. And the statement read as follows: "I have been part of this racing community for 20 years and couldn't be more proud of the Front Row Motorsports team and our success. But the time has come for change. We need a more competitive and fair system where teams, drivers, and sponsors can be rewarded for our collective investment by building long-term enterprise value, just like every other successful professional sports league." 23XI co-owner Denny Hamlin also did not shy away from giving his take on the decision taken by his team to sue the NASCAR charter, which has resulted in a legal war. Hamlin acknowledged how he never understood how unfair the sports system was before reinvesting his hard-earned money into the sport. Here's what he had to say: "I didn't realize until reinvesting the money that I've made as a driver back into the sport to put on a show for Jim France and NASCAR how unfair this whole system is. I didn't realize they would exercise the power that they did in an unfair manner, in my opinion, And we just got to a tipping point where we all said, enough is enough and let's exercise some options. Jeffrey Kessler, who will have the tough task at hand of representing the two teams in the lawsuit, claimed that NASCAR will have to change. He believes that his plaintiffs have a valid point to fight that will benefit the health of the sport in the future. Here's what Kessler had to say. This is reminiscent for me of many sports that have gone through a transformative model. It's sort of a moment when the legal style basically confronts them and says, either you're going to voluntarily change or you're going to be changed, and you can either get on the bus or get run over by the bus. No one wanted this litigation, but NASCAR didn't really give these teams any choice. You either submit to the bully or you fight. They're going to fight. The NASCAR community is in utmost shock over what has transpired for the first time in the history of the sport. While some are standing with Jordan in his fight against the series, there are some who are disgusted by his decision. And one such individual is legendary NASCAR crew chief and race analyst Larry McReynolds, who has taken a clear side. He is with NASCAR on the drama and has not hesitated to throw some shots at Jordan, claiming the statement from the NBA legend on the legal action as hideous. Let's look at what he had to say. It's a hideous statement in my book. He used the word unfair. What do you mean unfair? Could you clarify a little bit about unfairness? McReynolds went on to back his stance by saying that people like Jordan are not experienced enough in the sport to be asking for such drastic changes to be made. He gave examples of veterans like Richard Childress, Rick Hendrick, and Joe Gibbs who have signed the deal, saying that the teams might surely be benefiting from the new charter. Surely this is a historic lawsuit that has shaken NASCAR and its stakeholders to the core. Having entered a legal battle, both sides cannot afford to lose the case, with NASCAR being at the receiving end of a huge financial burden if it loses. As for 2311 and Front Row Motorsports, the two teams might just close down if they lose the case. What the need of the hour is for NASCAR to come to an agreement with the two teams before things worsen and both get dragged into the mud. It is clear that neither side would want something ugly to come out of this, but the possibility of that cannot be ruled out entirely. Oh, and not to forget, the fact that someone like Michael Jordan is suing the series will be a huge PR disaster for the sport, which might succumb to the pressures of the lawsuit. So for the sake of the sport and its fans, both sides must come to a plausible and effective conclusion to the matter and put the issue to bed without any negative consequences. But will that happen? I guess we can only wait and watch.